So what's getting you down? The word depression comes from the Latin depressus, meaning pressed down or weighed down. Originally the word wasn't about mood at all, it was actually about physical forces like gravity. So we feel down due to the heavy weight of life pressing down on our shoulders. And gravity pulls our tears down when we cry. The term for tearing or crying is called lacrimation. Lacrimation is the process by which the eyes produce tears. Tears are produced by the lacrimal glands located above each eyeball and are composed of water, salts, mucus, and enzymes. There are many reasons to cry, and it's very normal when we're feeling depressed. But what is depression really? The most common way psychologists explain it is through the biopsychosocial model. Biologically, depression is linked to changes in the brain. Things like neurotransmitters, hormones, and genetics all play a role. When most people think about depression, the word serotonin quickly comes up. Serotonin is a neurotransmitter, a chemical messenger in the brain which is often linked with mood, sleep, and appetite. The serotonin hypothesis suggested that low levels of serotonin might cause depression. This idea helped shape the development of antidepressants like selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, or SSRIs, which increase serotonin activity in the brain and promote emotional stability. Psychologically, it's about our patterns of thought, emotion, and behavior, the ways in which our mind process and interpret and interact with the world around us. Psychiatrist Aaron Beck pioneered the cognitive model of depression. He suggested that people with depression tend to view themselves, the world, and the future through a negative lens, what he called the cognitive triad. And another significant psychological theory is the learned helplessness theory, developed by psychologist Martin Seligman. This idea comes from experiments showing that when animals, and by extension humans, feel they have no control over negative events, they stop trying to change things, even when they could. Over time, this sense of powerlessness can fuel depression. Socially, depression is about the world around us, the people, events, the environments that shape our lives. Interpersonal theories of depression emphasize how relationships themselves can maintain or worsen depressive symptoms. Chronic conflict or rejection from friends or partners, or overcritical family members or employers can create patterns where negative feelings about the self are reinforced. Alcohol and drugs are sometimes used to escape depression, but these substances people turn to for relief can progressively push them deeper into depression. Alcohol is chemically a depressant. It slows down the brain and the nervous system. At first, it can feel relaxing, even freeing, but over time, it lowers mood, it disrupts sleep, it depletes the very neurotransmitters that keep us balanced. And drugs can have a similar effect. Stimulants like cocaine, amphetamines, or MDMA give a sudden burst of energy and euphoria, but the nervous system pays for it later. When the energy surge decreases, neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine are left drained, leaving behind emptiness, fatigue, and despair. Alcohol and drugs don't just change mood, they change the nervous system in ways that we can see. One of the most visible signs is in the eyes. Substances can dilate or constrict the pupils depending on how they alter brain chemistry. Depression itself also changes the pupillary reflex. People with depression often show slower or reduced pupil responses to light, reflecting changes in autonomic function and neurotransmitters like serotonin and norepinephrine. So whether through drugs or depression, the eyes give us a window into the brain's internal state. Depression can also change how the brain ages. Research shows that people with chronic depression often show patterns of accelerated brain aging. Levels of inflammation and stress hormones like cortisol can rise, damaging brain cells over time. There can also be changes in time perception, how time is experienced. People with depression often feel like time slows down, stretches endlessly, or drags without relief. An hour can feel tiresome, a day can feel like a week, while sadness seems to linger forever. As philosopher and psychiatrist Eugene Mikowski once said, in depression, time is arrested, it no longer flows. The future is closed off, and life is suspended. This distortion isn't just a feeling. Research shows that depression affects brain areas involved in attention, memory, and temporal processing, which can make the present feel slow, the past inescapable, and the future hopeless. One reason depression slows time is because of a cognitive behavior called rumination, an endless loop of negative thoughts. In depression, the constant mental replay not only deepens sadness but also bends the way we experience time. Let's go back in time once again. In ancient Rome, a macabre remedy for epilepsy involved drinking the warm blood or even eating the liver of a freshly slain gladiator. Romans believed the gladiator's strength and courage could be transferred through his blood, offering a kind of life-restoring elixir which was thought to instill hope and cure despair. Historically, depression and mental illness was often interpreted through a spiritual or supernatural lens. In medieval Europe, persistent sadness or despair was sometimes seen as evidence of demonic possession. Treatment sometimes involved exorcism, where prayers, holy water, and rituals were used in an attempt to expel the demonic spirit. But why did exorcism sometimes work? It wasn't evil spirits leaving the body, but the placebo effect. When someone believed deeply that they were cursed, possessed, or spiritually afflicted, the ritual of exorcism gave them a powerful sense of release and safety. The ceremony itself, with chanting, symbols, and a trusted authority figure, could reduce fear, lower stress, and trigger the body's natural soothing system. In effect, the brain's expectations help shift how the person experienced their symptoms. Melancholia, another word once used for describing low mood, was previously considered fashionable and prestigious. During the Renaissance and early modern period, a melancholic temperament, brooding and introspective, was once associated with intelligence, creativity, and refinement. Writers and artists sometimes cultivated a melancholic air as a mark of sophistication. Robert Burton, in his famous 1621 work, The Anatomy of Melancholy, documented this fascination, showing that sadness and reflection weren't always seen as weakness. This now brings us full circle. What's getting you down? The placebo effect shows us something powerful. Expectations can shape our experience. If someone expects a ritual to free them from suffering, their mind and body can respond as if it were true, but the reverse is also real. When our expectations are negative and hopeless, they weigh us down. This is called the nocebo effect, which is the opposite of the placebo effect. At the same time, many of us carry impossible expectations of ourselves, and when we fall short, this is where a sense of failure creeps in. Depression often comes with the expectation that things won't get better. Depression alters how we perceive ourselves. Instead of viewing setbacks as temporary or external, people may internalize them, leading to negative beliefs about the self and a lower self-esteem, where individuals struggle to recognize their strengths and value. Depression doesn't just affect how we relate to ourselves. Depression also affects how we relate to others too. It can cause us to self-isolate, where people withdraw from friends, family, and social activities. This withdrawal can create interpersonal problems as relationships are strained and distant. Sometimes when we get to this stage, we think to ourselves, what's the point? Why should we keep going? Looking at your life now, there might be moments in your past which you view with regret, or maybe a future that feels hopeless. Let me ask you, what matters most to you in your life? As humans, we all need a purpose, and we want our life to mean something. As Friedrich Nietzsche said, he who has a why to live can bear almost anyhow. It can feel like the weight of the world is on our shoulders. We carry our failures, our regrets, our guilt, our emptiness. Sometimes we believe we're nothing at all. But these are the stories we tell ourselves. Maybe it's the expectations we have of the future that write the stories of our past. But stories can change, and if depression is part of your story, it doesn't have to be the ending. As Viktor Frankl said, when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. So my final question to you, still here, still breathing, with your heart still beating, are you living the life you truly want? Thanks for choosing to spend part of your life with me. Thanks for watching. And as always, until next time.